Well, welcome everyone. I'm really excited you're here. My name is Carol English, and I have been a plant lover for a long, long time. And I have a graduate degree in biology, and I did research on Penstemon degneri, which is a rare plant that grows in a radius around Canyon City, mostly in Fremont County. So that's kind of my claim to fame. And that was a while ago. But I still love plants and I still work as a botanist. And I moved down here and realized, holy moly, no one's representing this part of the state. Somehow, some way, we got to do that. So interestingly, there is one species of cactus that occurs in Madagascar and tropical Africa, Sri Lanka. And scientists think it's a recent colonist in the last few thousand years. So it didn't actually evolve there. It somehow got there, maybe via a bird that got off course, or I don't think they know actually how that cactus species got there. All cactus species are succulents, but not all succulents are in the Cactaceae family. And cacti have modified leaves that in many species are what we see as spines. So around here in the San Luis Valley, the prickly pear that a lot of us see and lots of the cacti that we see, the spines are actually used to be leaves, and which is really cool. Cactus have incredible adaptations for survival. And their stems are enlarged, and most often they store water. And that water, I mean, they are like little water tanks, really, is what cacti are. And you know, if they're super important in desert environments to all the ecosystem, because the animals often get their water from the cacti. So the spines that we see on cactus occur on structures that are called areoles. And the presence of an areole separates cacti from the other succulent species that aren't in that family. So the spines, the hairs, the flowers, the new growth, and the fruits all originate from this pad-like structure called an areole in most cactus species. And you've probably seen those. And then, so cactus have astounding adaptations to survive in dry climates. And one example that I, for one, and probably many of you listening and know about it, maybe, I don't know, but I like to remind us all. I learned about it in my botany class, and it's called CAM, photosynthesis, which stands for crassulacean acid metabolism. So all plants, not just cacti, have what's called stomata. So that's basically how they breathe. And plants, of course, instead of breathing in oxygen like we do, they breathe in carbon dioxide. So the cactus got quite smart about this whole thing. Really, it's just natural selection. It's not smarts. But they open their stomata at night. So when the sun's down and it's cooler, they can open those pores and let CO2 in. And it's a way in which they can gather CO2 and not lose a lot of that precious moisture if they were doing it during the height of the sun. So what they do is they store that CO2 by this chemical system that they got going on inside, and then they can photosynthesize, during the day with that stored CO2 in their system. So cactus, the spines act as a shading agent for the cacti. So they often are nurse plants in hot climates. So the shade from the spines, sometimes nutrients associated with the presence, help seedlings of other species to become established, which they might otherwise not be able to do in hot or poor soil. So that's a pretty cool little fact. And now we're going to get to the cacti that occur here in the San Luis Valley. So I love thinking about the big picture of things. So in the New World, there's about 2,000 species of cacti, and most of those species occur south of us in northern Mexico, not New Mexico. Northern Mexico is kind of where most of the diversity of cacti exists. But of course, there's a cactus species, I think, all the way up to Canada. So they're pretty widespread. And then Colorado has about 18 species, and the San Luis Valley has about 8 species, which was new to me. I had no idea that we have that many cacti species down here. Now, I will tell you, I am not a cactus expert. I just think they're really cool. So if there's a cactus expert in the crowd, please feel free to speak up, after I'm done talking. Just go ahead and let me know what you know, because that would be great. So Cylindropuntia imbricata, variation imbricata, is called the tree cholla, which I always thought mostly occurred, like I remember driving down I-25 and getting excited when the cholla would show up. So it's kind of towards Colorado Springs, all of a sudden, bam, oh my God, there's a ton of cholla out there. And that species, the cholla tree does occur in the San Luis Valley, in Costilla County. And it also occurs on the eastern plains of Colorado, of course. There's 2 species, there may be varieties of cholla, Cylindropuntia in Colorado, but there is another species in southwest Colorado, and I think that's Whipliana or something. Someone out there probably knows the exact name of that, but it has white blossoms, and it's down in, I actually just saw one. I was so excited. I was down in Cortez, and we were doing this little hike, and my partner was like, oh, look at this cool cactus. And then so we did the iNaturalist on it, and it came up as Whipliana Cylindropuntia. So, and I did plant one of those in my Morrison garden years ago. I got it at Timberline Gardens in Wheat Ridge, or wherever that was, Arvada. And I was always proud of that cactus. So anyway, okay, so that's the first species that occur here. And here we go. And then, so kind of serious cochineus, I think is how you pronounce that, scarlet hedgehog cactus. And that occurs in Saguache County in the San Luis Valley. And it also occurs in many other locations on the western slope in Colorado. It looks a lot like claret cup cactus, but the spines in cross section are round. So if you cut a spine in half, it would be a roundish appearance. And then claret cup cactus, the other kind of serious, also occurs here in the San Luis Valley. And it also occurs on the east and west slope of Colorado. So it's kind of all over the place, really. I mean, some of you could probably say, I think I looked it up on SignNet, and it looked like there was an occurrence up by Winter Park of all places. I don't know, I'd have to look at it again, but it's pretty widespread. And if you cut its spines in cross section, they would be angled in 3 to 6 angles. So that's the way you tell those 2 apart. And I think there may be more varieties of this claret cup cactus, but I don't know for sure. I need a cactus expert helping out on that question. And then the nylon hedgehog cactus occurs here. I don't think I've seen it yet down here. I've seen it like up on the Front Range near Morrison, but that is a kind of Cereus viridiflorus. And it's got those yellowish, kind of almost a greenish tint to the flowers. And it's found in a lot of places in San Luis Valley, along the Front Range and on the eastern plains of Colorado. And the neat thing about that cactus is it will actually kind of, at least the ones that I was watching up by Morrison, Colorado, In the wintertime, it seems to kind of retreat down in the soil. And then when it gets warm enough, it starts to appear again. I always thought that was really cool. And then pincushion cactus. I had no idea this cactus occurs here in the San Luis Valley. I have seen this, but it was more, can't remember where I have seen this. Anyway, but here it's found in the Saguache County and in San Luis Valley and the Front Range, Eastern Plains, and Southeast Colorado. It's a really pretty one. And then, of course, our amazing prickly pear cactus. And this one here in this photo is Opuntia polycantha. I think there's a lot of varieties and maybe several species of this, but this particular species is found everywhere in the San Luis Valley, as a lot of us know that live here in Crestone. And sometimes I attribute, it is so prolific here in Crestone and in this right around this area, that I think, here's my theory, I think there was a lot of sheep herding here. And I think when there's a lot of sheep herding, you get a lot of cacti like Opuntia or Opuntia. It's called an increaser species. I don't know. There's just a lot of it, as many of us will attest to. There's a lot of different varieties, with 2 varieties in the San Luis Valley. And it all depends on the spine morphology. And then the last species that's here in the San Luis Valley is the mountain cactus, Pedicactus simpsonii. It's also found along the Front Range and the western slope of Colorado. It's a lovely cactus.